So now I'm louder. My apologies for that. Hi, everyone. My name is Nate W. I am the head of mentorship and documentation with the CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And that sometimes people think that's a bit of an oddball combination, mentoring and documentation. And the way I reconcile that is, and this is like picking me up, I gotta talk from like back here, I think. Is this better? Is this okay? I don't want to feel like I'm shouting at you. But I think of both mentorship and documentation as a way to grow communities. Mentorship is maybe a little bit more obvious. The more folks that you mentor into a project, the more folks that you have in your community. Maybe that's not obvious. Maybe that's why you're here to see what we're doing to help do that. And then documentation, I think of the same way. I think that if you don't tell people what your project does or how to use it, they won't. And so that's how I wound up with this particular title. So a little bit of mundane information about Nate you probably didn't need to know. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about the CNCF. Looking at this group, I'm probably going to speed through the first part of this talk because, again, this is a sponsored talk, so I'm not going to lie, I'm borrowing some slides from various places. But I'll just give a quick overview of the CNCF, what we do, and then I'll talk about the mentorship programs that we support and the mentorship program that we run and some of the outcomes that we've had and why we continue to do it. Welcome to the CNCF. We are a part of the Linux Foundation, and I like to say that we're a vendor-neutral home for open source projects that are roughly tangentially cloud native adjacent. We have a fairly liberal view of what cloud native is. Obviously, we've got Kubernetes is our biggest project, orchestration, but we also do observability if you've got a project that is storage or networking or security research. We think that all counts, and so we are a nonprofit home, part of the Linux Foundation. We've been we're actually celebrating 10 years this year. So C10CF. It's a phrase that works better in writing, I think. Kubernetes is maybe a little bit more fun to say. But the story of Cloud Native evolves around 20 years of computing, starting from non-virtual actual hardware, mainframes, moving all the way through to the virtual machines and containers that we use today. And there's also been sort of a steady march towards open source options as we've done this, moving from the old hardware and closed systems like AWS to moving towards OpenStack and of course Cloud Foundry, Docker, and the Cloud Native Foundation itself. We like to say that we're in the commons period now, where a lot of the infrastructure that we are using now is we've standardized on open tooling. So what is the future of this? So you see, now this is a slide that somebody gave me, and I don't know a whole lot about AI here, so I'm going to probably skip a lot of this, to be honest. So if you will bear with me. The one thing I will say about what we're doing with AI is I think it's going to be a lot like how from my perspective, it's mirroring a lot of the technologies that have come before. I think that we're going to have a Kubernetes for AI, so that you can start building your AI workloads anywhere, and they'll start doing just like containers needed a control plane. That we're gonna need a similar thing for AI to prevent vendor lock-in, and I think that the Cloud Native Foundation is helping do that, so you can build these models and whatnot on your laptop or on your container or anywhere else you need. But not my area. Somebody gave me a slide. So we are a part of the Linux Foundation. Tend to think of it as the United Nation of technology, where the CNCF would be the cloud native delegation. And a lot of the verticals here that you see automotive, AI, energy. We share a lot of infrastructure, legal services. A lot of the things that we provide our projects, why you would join the Linux Foundation as a project, is to allow folks in each foundation to focus on their community rather than some of the more bureaucratic type of things. And that actually maybe ties back a little bit to mentorship. We're global in scope, right? And so you can have a Linux Foundation project, like let's say Kubernetes and CNCF, can have a mentee from Laos hack on a project led out of Tokyo with a mentor based out of Vancouver. And that sort of global scope is part of what the Linux Foundation provides us. So we host 230 open source projects to date. As of probably 20 minutes ago, this might have, the day is young, where we bring on a lot of projects. And so this number is always getting updated. And so we've got three sort of levels of project. We've got a sandbox project, incubating projects, and graduated. So sandbox projects are idea stage, sort of proving viability in community. Incubating, we're starting to demonstrate some growth. Multiple vendors are starting to use these things. You're starting to get actual companies betting money on using these for their services. And then graduated, I like to think of as like enterprise-grade open source software. So production-ready, open governance, documentation is spot on, security processes and whatnot. And so what happens at each step is governance reviews, security audits, conformance tests, again, proof of use, and such like that. More, again, this is, all right, if you want to see more of this, go to the landscape.cncf.io. All right, so I imagine this is what you're all here for. So hello again. Mentorship at the CNCF. We support currently 3 programs. Google Summer of Code is an amazing program. Thank you to all the Google folks in the room and elsewhere. We support outreaching, although we don't have a whole lot of our projects participating in outreaching. This is actually an area that I would like to grow. I think we've only got one program or project that regularly participates in outreaching. And then we also run our own internal program. That's the LFX. I call it the CNCF LFX Mentorship Program to distinguish it from just the LFX platform. And so our goal there is, again, to increase community size. Like, I want to bring more people into open source, and this is a sort of a proven way of bringing folks in. I want to increase the number of projects that participate. I want to increase the number of mentees. I want to increase the number of mentors, the quality of mentorship. I try to coach folks in candidate selection and how to do critique, how to do public critique, things like that. So I want to increase the quality of mentorship. That's one of our goals. And so, where are we? Sorry, this is, as many times as I've given this talk, it's still in front of people, and it's always like a little bit. So where are we here? So yeah, so growing your, so when I first wrote this one, I was like, why should you project participate, right? And that's maybe not this crowd, but you grow your contributor base. You can get a piece of work done. You can recruit people to continue contributing once you're finished. You get a piece of work done. That's actually a bigger piece of the mentorship puzzle than I think a lot of people realize. It's not just about teaching people that, okay, here's how you do something in the open source way. It's also getting a piece of work done, but hopefully we're growing people who are then going to continue to contribute, who are going to become a part of the community. And that's where we, that's our goal. I've got this quote here. CNCF mentees have helped build features, fix bugs, and improve documentation across dozens of projects. This is true, but that's not my goal. I want continuous. I want people to come in, do these things. This is great. Learn how to do it and continue to do it in open source. If somebody comes in and says, you know what, I did a project with Vitesse, I was a student, I was really into databases at the time, but you know what, maybe I'm really into, I don't know, AI, and then they go off and continue contributing, let's say the PyTorch Foundation or something, that's a win to me too, right? You always want people to continue in the open source ecosystem. So, going back to 2020, I have, oh my goodness, I have so many spreadsheets, and I have pulled some actual statistics together. And what we've got here is 3 types of ways of looking at retention. So this first blue line is people continuing to contribute in the year post their term. That's everybody, if that's just like, if that's like one comment or one PR, that's that blue one. And that's fairly high. The next one is mentees with 2 or more, to again just sort of filter out people who aren't just sort of doing a drive-by and saying, oh yeah, I've oops, this is, and then this third one here I think is the most telling, and this is the one that I want to grow, and this is people who continue to contribute actually 2 months to 12 months past, because a lot of times I found that mentees will contribute in the week or 2 weeks following their mentorship just to get the project done, right? I love it, it's great, but that doesn't say to me that it's a continuing contribution. And so we have about 30 to 45% retention rate for mentees continuing to contribute. And I think that's spectacular. I'd like to increase that. And the other thing actually, and I don't have a chart for it, but the other thing that I've been working really hard when I first took this program on, I think we had about a 12 or 15% failure rate for mentees. So we always have the CNCF LFX program, we have 2 check-ins, one at the midterm, one at the end. And we pay all of our mentees through the LFX. And part of their stipend payment is based on the evaluation, that they've actually done the work and done it well. And we've actually reduced the failure rate to about 8%, which still feels a bit high, but is in line with like first-year university course failure rate. So that's something that we are actively working on. And again, that I think is a part of coaching our mentors and teaching mentors how to teach, right? So this next slide here is, I feel like I've missed a bunch, like I'm already coming up, we may jump around this, because I feel like this might be a really quick talk here. This is a chart that I often like to share with the governing board, because this is the number of mentees who have gone on to become maintainers in the last 5 years. And so since 2020, we have run, we run our program about 3 times a year. And so there's been, what, 15, 16 semesters since 2020? And we have had 24 mentees go on to become project maintainers for the CNCF. About half of them for the project that they menteed for, and about half for other projects, mostly sandbox projects, which I think is a spectacular outcome. I'm not tracking whether or not mentees are becoming maintainers for other open source projects outside of the CNCF. I imagine that is actually happening as well, but these are the numbers that I have and that I'm able to get. And so when projects come to me and say, we need new maintainers, we need more contributors, we're needing help growing our community, I always point to them and say, hey, point to the CNCF program mentorship program and say, this is how we can grow communities and grow maintainers. I don't know of any other program that actually grows maintainers at a clip as fast as this, except for maybe bringing on new sandbox projects, and I'm not sure that counts exactly. So this is a number that I'm between this and the 40% continuing rate. These are I think these really do show how effective mentorship is at growing communities. Okay, so this is becoming more familiar here. So mentorship works. Make it work for your project. Grow. So I think, what's my next slide here? Why you should be a mentor. I think I've already talked about why it works for your project. Why you should be a mentor. I think more people should be using their mentorship experience in their promo packets. I think that if you're, let's say, a mid-level unprefixed developer and you're looking to grow your career and you're working for a company that is letting you work on open source software that the company depends on, you have the opportunity to say, hey, I see a problem or an issue, and I'm going to propose a mentorship program around that, saying, okay, these things need to happen. I think that I can coach somebody to do this in 12 months, or 12 weeks. Months, God, can you imagine? 12 weeks. You get to set what the scope of the project is. You get to bring that to the CNCF. We will you add that to the Linux Foundation LFX program. We get thousands of applicants, hundreds per program sometimes. So you get to show candidate selection and how you make decisions around, frankly, hiring, right? You get to bring somebody in and see how they work with you, with your colleagues in your company. You get to show how you critique the work of others, all this in the open again, right? At the end of it, your mentee gets a piece of work done that you get to say, hey, I helped get this work done, and this is me showing my management skills. And that's something that you don't necessarily get to do just in the context of your own company's work. And so taking these opportunities and saying, hey, look at the work that I'm doing. I would love to see some statistics around, this is, unfortunately, the LinkedIn APIs are a little bit expensive. I would love to follow up on seeing how many or how quickly a mentor gets promoted after having been a mentor. I don't have those numbers. I wish I did. But again, a quote here from Miriam. Miriam actually is with Nirmata now. She didn't start with Nirmata. She was a mentee for Kyverno. And Jim Bagwata was her mentor with Nirmata. Nirmata hired her, and she has actually become a maintainer on Kyverno. So her story is spectacular. I've actually interviewed her and watch cncf.io/blog for her story coming out later in probably a month or so. And I love this quote. My mentor, Jim, didn't just provide answers. He walked me through use cases and helped me discover the solutions myself. That approach boosted my confidence tremendously and taught me how to think critically. And again, these are the type of, well, he was already I think he was the CEO of Nirmata, but if as a mentor you can take something like this and show this to your boss and say, hey, let's move me up the ladder. I think mentorship is a great way to show, to drive career progression. So this is why you should be a mentor. And yeah, so this is actually, I'm going to keep this fairly quick talk here. I think, so we're already, welcome back to the sponsored part of this talk. Some more of the stuff that CNCF does, obviously, community building and whatnot. But is there any questions anybody has? Maybe we can turn this into a little bit of, we have so few people here. This is great. Maybe we can have some questions. Emily. Okay, so the question was, do we have any documentation around how the CNCF participates in other programs, or if you're just starting to look into joining another program, how they might do that. So we do have some documentation around how to be a mentor. So if you go to the Linux Foundation, LFS, I think it's like LFX. It's a big long URL, I'm sorry, but we do have some documentation around, again, sort of training, mentorship, but we don't have like a program template, right? We do for we don't have a program template for how to participate in other projects like Outreachy, but we do, if you go to mentoring.cncf.io, we do have information on how to be like an administrator for Google Summer of Code, for instance. Because of the way this Google Summer of Code works, the organization administrator has to, like, we go through and we ask like a lot of our projects are very much, rather, all of our programs are very much project driven because maintainers are our most time-starved community members. And so what we do for Summer Code, Outreachy, and LFX is we reach out to our community and say, do you have some work that you think a junior engineer or a third, fourth year student can do in 12 weeks or whatever the length of the program is with some coaching? And do you have time to do it? Are you interested in doing it? So everything is very much project driven because we can't, because a maintainer is a volunteer, we can't say, you're gonna do this, right? We always have to say, do you have time? Can you do this? Would you like to do this? Can we help you do this? And so we then get, for instance, for Google Summer of Code, we get proposals from the projects that we then have to figure out, okay, Google will only fund so many, so we have to rank them, have to figure out, we have to push back on the maintainer, sometimes say, okay, maybe we need to finesse this a little bit to make it more attractive. So we do have things like that. And for the LFX program, we do have sort of, and I guess you could take it and sort of run with it, but it has been written for me as the administrator, not for somebody else or for another program to pick up. Now, I have helped other Linux foundations set up their mentorship programs using the LFX platform, but I do have to sort of, like, there's the documentation, but if I'm not there to explain the documentation, it's maybe not as obvious as it should, which shames me as a technical writer. So I'm working on it, we're getting there. But that said, we do everything in the open. So we are, if you go to, like I said, if you go to mentoring.cncf.io, that actually brings up our GitHub repo and all of our documentation, all of our processes. I will usually have like an umbrella issue saying, hey, these are the things that have to happen. Some of them, as a Linux Foundation staff member, I have to keep myself like stipend payments and such. But one of the things that I'm doing is I've started a subgroup from our technical oversight committee that is the mentoring subgroup. And what I'm trying to do is, again, set out best practices, but I really want the mentoring program to be by the community for the community. I can be an administrator, I can help out, but I'd really like for the community to do the outreach. I think the community can do some of this coaching. I think the community can reach out to the projects and say, hey, this is something that you can be doing. And the community has the expertise around like how to do this. And so we actually do meet every I think it's the third Wednesday or third Thursday of the month. And that's an open meeting. I'm trying to build this like any other open source project where The next thing I need to do is figure out a contributor ladder. Is like, oh, how do you start? Like, what's the first thing you can do? What's the first, like, what are the types of things that we can ask the community to do? And so we will be building that type of documentation, because in order to invite people to help, you have to be able to tell them how to help. And so this is something that we are working on. Does that answer the question? Did I ramble? I'm sorry if I did. Other questions, comments?
I do have a question. How do you think, if you think, I imagine, how do you think about scaling?
Scaling, that's the $64 question. When I introduce myself, I say I'm a technical writer. I help our projects organize and write their documentation in that order, because I don't scale all that well myself. And the same thing with mentorship. The bottleneck really is maintainers and trusted community members who can be mentors. It used to be that only maintainers, when I first adopted this project from my colleague, only maintainers could be mentors. And that didn't work very well, because, again, maintainers are our most time-starved community members, and they can't always do that, but they have trusted people in their communities who can. And I've been having some conversations this week that have been really interesting, and apparently, and I need to follow up on this research, so this is not for anybody watching this on YouTube. This might not be. I don't have a citation for this, but I've been told that peer mentoring actually works better. Like near peer mentoring works better than, let's say, if you're trying to teach somebody and you're at like a PhD level and somebody's just starting, it might be better to get like the TA to teach them than the PhD to teach them. And the same thing with these types of communities, where when you're just starting in, it might be a little bit overwhelming to talk to the maintainer. And the maintainer might have a different sort of view of things. They may not recognize, oh, well, this is, at any rate. And so allowing more people to be mentors has really helped grow the program. We actually, this semester that we're just starting now, if every project makes a selection, a candidate selection, we'll have, I think, 65 projects, which is a record. The previous record was 64 earlier this year. So we are able to grow. But that, I mean, 65 in a semester doesn't seem like all that many, right? We do maybe 150 of these programs a year, 160 or so. And so scale really is, like growing the program is a bit of a sticky problem. And I think that the answer to it is more peer mentoring. I think the more people that are able to mentor, the more people that we can teach to mentor, the better off we are. But we're still going to run into, I think the other thing is we've only, so I showed the slide, we've got 230 projects. In the last 5 years, only 70 CNCF projects have participated. And so there's a lot of projects that are leaving sort of money on the table, as it were, and not participating. And I think that the growth in mentorship is actually going to come from our sandbox, because part of growing is, so going from sandbox to incubating is showing that you've got a contribution ladder that works. And if you have a contribution ladder that works, you can prove it by being able to bring somebody into your mentoring program and having them successfully contribute. And that would then, you could take that to the TOC and the Technical Oversight Committee and say, see, we've brought people on. We have these processes. And so I think part of the growth of the mentorship program at the CNCF is going to have to be helping sandbox projects getting their contributor ladders stood up and working on those processes to grow their community. But I don't think there's a way of like exponentially growing it. Yeah. Did you have a?
Yeah. How do you foster a culture of mentorship and growth and health of the project?
So the question is, how do we foster
A culture
A culture of mentorship and fostering mentorship. Of the 70 projects that have participated, there's a few that have done it many, many, many times. We have a lot of mentors who are repeat mentors, and I think of those as some of our most successful. And again, those folks who, like I said earlier, my goal is to grow the community. And when you have a mentor who brings a mentee in and continues to work with them after the semester is over and coaches them to then, actually, you know, I'll name drop. I think Andy Anderson from Cube Stellar is doing a really good job of this, where he is bringing people on not just for their technical skills, but he has in his mind that they pay it forward, and they specifically coach their mentees to help them write the next proposal for the next term, and then they become a mentor, right? And that's part of the flywheel, is mentee becoming a community member, becoming a mentor, becoming a trusted contributor, becoming a maintainer, right? And so working with folks like that and encouraging, Meshery does a really good job of this as well. So it's at WASM Edge as well. There's these sort of key groups that I'm looking at, and I reach out to them and I say, how are you doing this? Can I see what your candidate selection process is like? And I try to sort of socialize that around to other, and that's again part of the process. And one of the things that I'd like to start doing moving forward, and this is something I think that the community can help with, is doing workshops where right now what I'm doing is like a kickoff, saying, okay, here's how you manage the LFX platform, here's how you deal with this, that, or the other thing. But it's a very mechanical sort of, okay, here's how the program works. What I'd like to start doing is workshops where it's like, okay, here's how you can do candidate selection, here's how you write a successful proposal, here's how you do that. But unfortunately, as it is standing right now, I don't have the capacity myself to do so. But that's the idea. Is again the mentees. If we do our job right, then they stick around and help out. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, but I lost my train of thought.
Oh, fair enough. Does anybody else, while you're thinking on that, does anybody else have any questions? I like I'm feeling very casual here, so I'm appreciating the friendly audience here. Erin? Or I'm sorry, Emily?
So your like retention rate and your especially like conversion to maintainer rate is like bananas. That's awesome. What do you think is like the most important part of the mentorship experience that leads to that?
So the comment was we have quite a high retention / maintainer conversion rate. I agree. Thank you. And the question is, what do I think is driving that? And I think that's the quality of the communities that are doing. Like some of the folks that I mentioned. I try to, as a part of the program, seed the idea that this is about community growth. It's not just about getting a piece of work done. I am more interested in teaching people how to do work in open source than getting that work done, if you know what I mean. Like again, we do have evaluations and whatnot, and it is important that people get work done. But if, let's say, the scope of the work is too big and a mentee only gets like a quarter of the project done and it doesn't actually complete the feature, but they're opening PRs and having discussions and working through the process and working with the community, I think that's a successful menteeship, right? That is as important to me as getting that piece of work done, because we're teaching that person how to do the work, how to work with the community, how to communicate, how to do things in the open. So sort of redefining a little bit the term success and saying, hey, it's not just about like, yeah, okay, you've got the best developer. It's that the person comes away from it feeling welcomed and feeling like that they're able to reach out for help, that they're able to communicate ideas and concepts and critiques and such like that. That I think is, I hope, part of what it is. But I think that there's probably some research that we can do. I've been trying to do some surveys at the ends of our terms to try and find out a little bit more. The other thing is it's a little bit hard to track exactly because, for instance, you can see here, it takes a while. In some cases, for somebody, I've broken this down. So each semester, this is the number of people from that semester who have eventually become maintainers. I do actually have the dates for when each person has become, and so I should actually probably find out what the average time for a maintainer mentee.
Do you guys ever do like spotlight interviews for like somebody who came up through this?
I'm working on that now, and and that person that I just mentioned, Mariam, they're my first interview on that, and I'm going to be not only interviewing. I've already interviewed her. I've got that one in the can. I would also like to interview her mentors because, again, I think we need to celebrate these types of stories, right? And I think that it helps encourage other people. They say, "Oh, that person's like me. I can do this. Maybe." That's going to be on cncf.io/blog. And I don't want to say when I'm going to have that done, but I'm working on it. It's a half-done manuscript. Which, again, I'm a writer. And I'm hoping actually, so we used to do, maybe we still do, we used to do something called Humans of Cloud Native spotlight interviews. And I'd like to sort of co-opt that format a little bit for this. But I think that it really is worth celebrating people who have gone through this program and have been that successful. It's neat to see. It's one of the favorite parts of my job. Have you thought of your?
More idealistic thinking. Do you think it's possible to do a successful mentorship without the proposal to work on to mentee someone into open source work without the project proposal, without that work to focus on?
So the question is, do I think it's possible to successfully have a program without having the?
Not really a program, basically just picking mentors in, say, a computer club to mentee some others who work and
With
be active in the environment.
Right. So having more of. Yeah, I think. So I'm trying to repeat the question here for YouTube later, and to have the question set in my head. So the question is, do I think it's possible to have a successful program that is more of a peer-based group without the project-driven sort of proposal phase? I think it is. I think that's a different program. I think the program that we've set up and that we're running is, again, trying to grow community through participation in the program, and because everyone in this whole ecosystem is a volunteer, we do have to reach out and say, do you have time? Do you have the interest to do this? I think that like a peer program where you have people who are, let's say, just getting started, almost like a meetup. It's like people who are just getting started in. I'm just going to pick. Just getting started in Prometheus, and we have like a couple of students in an area who are just like, oh, this is a really interesting piece of technology. I want to get into it. I honestly think that's actually again, that peer and near peer mentorship, working together. I think that's kind of the best way of doing it, to be very honest. But I don't see what my role in that would necessarily be. Well, I guess I could, but it's a little bit hard given the scope of the organization being worldwide. I'd love to see meetups do more of that, and I think since 2020, meetups have sort of gone down and are coming back a little bit now. And I think that there's an opportunity to work with universities. And I've been, again, in this particular conference, I love the number of academics that I'm seeing, and I've been having a lot of interesting conversations around that. But I'm not sure. I'd like to, but I'd be interested in having a conversation with you about what you would see, like how would we formalize that, and how would we make that like a program that a foundation could put forward.
Yeah, this same kind of concept was mentioned at the North America Open Source Summit a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Like, the best way to retain drive-by contributors is to have almost like a warm onboarding. So
Mm.
you see, like the project builds some culture that when they see a PR coming to somebody they've never heard of, then this like triggers some flag, and they say, okay, you don't have a mentor or a mentee right now. Like, go talk to this.
Go talk to this.
person
Yeah.
and, like, message them and help them out and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so it almost becomes like not so much like a centralized program as a like per project, like culture practice documentation thing.
Yeah.
But I haven't tried it myself.
I think that's a great idea, and I see a lot of projects, even like a bot saying, "Hey, thanks for that first contribution. This is great." Yeah, absolutely. And I think the group that is helping run those conversations, we actually did an unconference in North America, and that's the FLOSS mentoring group, and that's flossmentoring.org if you're interested. That's a group of academics and nonprofits getting together, trying to figure out how best to work together with academia, nonprofit or foundations like ours, and companies. What is our time? Am I running out of time here? I might be. 41? Couple more questions if anybody's. I mean, I've got all day, but I'm seeing people come in from maybe other. I think actually we're pretty close to a pretty close time. So if you have anybody has one last question. If not, I'll be around. I'll come stand outside by the door. I love having conversations about this. Like I said, flossmentoring.org, mentoring.cncf.io. FLOSS, mentoring.org. And that'll bring you to another GitHub repo. I've got a bad habit of, instead of setting up websites, I just point URLs at GitHub. So thank you all. I appreciate you putting up with my ad hoc. This was a lot of fun for me, so thank you all. I appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.